Hello and welcome to today's video about the monthly forecast of Pisces, the fishes. This is when Sun goes into Pisces on February 19th till March 19th. And it is the constellation of the Great Mother and the Divine Sun.
Welcome everyone, Martin Comtois ici with Diana Robinson and the little Pisces smudge. Well, that's liable to change the energies a little bit. It's been so serious. And then Pisces comes around and Pisces, Pisces is the only water sign that doesn't have a defense mechanism. Scorpio, of course, has the poisonous dart, and then Cancer as the pinch. But Pisces, completely vulnerable. The only thing that Pisces does is it goes really deep, so you can't reach it. So that's its defense mechanism, hangs out in the depth. And I have Sun in Pisces myself, and two other planets in Pisces. What do you got in Pisces? Oh, I know.
Yeah, Saturn.
Anything else?
No, just and my IC, but that's the only planet.
Okay, so you're icy. Okay, cool. We're having the month of Pisces. And how does that feel to you? How do you usually do in the month of Pisces?
February is usually the hardest month, so more Aquarius time for me. Pisces, things start to, yeah, it's like stop being so serious. I guess Saturn ruled signs are kind of over. Capricorn and Aquarius season have just kind of finished up, and Saturn rules both those signs, so things can be pretty serious and thick and internal as well. But then as Pisces season comes, it tends to be a little bit slowly lightening up and getting a little more social and noticing and getting more time in the sunlight and in nature.
I hope, because I have so many planets in Pisces, I always feel Pisces to be really important for me in my development. So let's see what we got here.
All right. What are some of these gifts of the Great Mother with the Divine Sun?
So here we have Pisces, the fishes. We have the two co-rulers. Of course, we have Jupiter. In our last video, we did Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. And here we have a different picture of Jupiter. Jupiter's younger. And you see Sagittarius there, the centaur, and you see the fishes. And you see the books. And so then in Pisces, Jupiter is more of the wise teacher. In Sagittarius, he's more of the adventurer. And then on the other side, we have Neptune, the lord of the depths. And Neptune has been in Pisces for quite a while. So the Great Mother and the Divine Sun. Why don't we discuss that for a bit?
Should we flesh out the symbol?
Exactly.
So the symbol is the two fishes swimming against the opposite way from each other, but they're tied at the tail. So naturally, you'd never get too far then, as far as the rope would go. And then on here, if you'll see glyphs, if you're reading astrology, this is it. So it's the two fishes and then rope together.
So then the two fishes are associated with the mother and the sun. So we talked about being in the age of Pisces and going into the age of Aquarius. So the age of Pisces was constellated by the Divine Mother and her son. And the mythology of that is the Virgin Mary. Pisces is the opposite of Virgo, the Virgin Mary, and Christ, the Divine Son. But we have a lot of God images that are divine sons to Virgin Mothers or to the Great Mother. I've been studying the myth of Osiris Isis and their son Horus. And so Egyptian mythology, the devouring mother and the divine son, and also many other mythologies. And so what's your experience of that devouring mother and okay, I call it the Great Mother, but really I wanted to call it the Devouring Mother, and the Divine Son.
I'm more curious about your experience being raised and living as a Pisces, and this thing you say, the devouring mother. I feel like it's a piece of your process this life too, and what you've come to understand for not only Pisces, but the almost like the karmic weight that can come with Pisces.
I'm reading a fantastic book. Well, I've read two fantastic books by Eric Neumann. I read The Great Mother, and then now I'm reading the History and Origins of Consciousness by Eric Neumann.
Wow.
And in that, he talks about the Ouroboros.
The snake eating its own tail.
The snake eating his own tail is a symbol of the zodiac.
Yeah.
And so this snake that eats his own tail is the masculine and the feminine in the Ouroboric stage that gives birth to the divine son. And so that Ouroboric is associated with the snake, is associated with the Great Mother, the dragon. And so the Great Mother in matriarchal times, he explains, the origin of consciousness rose out of the matriarchal ages where everything was about the Great Mother. And there's two aspects to the mother. There's the beneficent, loving mother, but there's also the devouring mother, like this word smothered. Smothered is mothered with an S in front of it. So then this experience of being smothered by the mother and the little boy who refuses to grow up, the divine son of the devouring mother who refuses to grow up. Mary Louise von Franz wrote the book called the Puer Aeternus, which is about this epidemic of little boys who don't want to grow up and who mothers who are devouring. Or and so that age, the Piscean age, and the Christian philosophies, and the empowering of the masculine to a point where the masculine is dissociated and is completely dependent on the mother who is devouring and who pushes him and who, to really live the unlived life of the mother. These we're talking about, a network of codependency that the Pisces are very familiar with. And so, does that make sense?
It's some kind of complex. I mean, I guess if it's in one human, it's some complex psychology, but I understand how that can happen, especially I feel like in generations, more recent generations, we've seen a lot of this men who don't want to grow up or who can't grow up for whatever reason. And I think that is a bit of a generational fallback from the war and how things were addressed and dealt with in the war. And there's this like deep-seated not wanting to let your boy grow up because it could mean he dies. And so there's this controlling aspect where you don't let them grow up so you don't have to maybe lose them.
Well, if you do a lot of analysis, if you work with a lot of charts, you'll see that really this is one of the major myths of our times. And you will find it in one way or the other, and the chart will reveal it to you depending on where the sun and the moon is and how's the overall tenure of the chart. But if you have Pisces strongly constellated, so Pisces, the dreamer, Pisces, the drug addicted, the codependent Pisces, kind of Pisces neurotic, that's kind of like really kind of,
Dissociated.
was that?
Dissociated.
He's actually looking for his mother, right? He's got mommy issues, and he uses the pot, and he uses the codependency, and he projects his mother. I have a son in Pisces. That was really something that I've struggled with all my life, and projecting my mother on my partner and wanting to be nurtured by my partner. And, so then we're talking about the depth of the complexes that animate the sign of Pisces, but also the Piscean age. So that's deep, and it's definitely not the pop astrology version of Pisces, but these are very important ideas when we consider the sign of Pisces.
Yeah, there's this magic quality to Pisces. So there's the dissociated, but there's also this beautiful light magic kind of overview. And I guess it's because it is the last sign of the zodiac, right? There's this, on some level, energetically, it's been through all the other signs. So there's this like a higher perspective almost at things.
Well, that's the divine sun. There's something really promising about the Pisces, divine sun, who's Jupiterian in nature, right? He has the ability to make you believe. Most importantly, he believes himself to be divine and not to have to be part of the world. And so there's a very attractive aura around the Pisces, male and female as well. But he's just says everything so that you'll become his mother. And that's a very common thing, and it's not with everyone, but the need to incarnate, if you think about it, there's the evolution of the zodiac from Aries to Taurus, where I've been doing this before, but I'm going to use a different analogy. I'm going to use the analogy of the seed. So the seed is planted in Aries, and life, the seed comes out, and we have spring, and the individual asserts himself, bursts into life. That's Aries. In Taurus, that seedling is nurtured and made strong. And if he needs a little bit of support and a little more dirt and some fertilizer, that's Taurus, makes the plant grow. Now that plant is growing in Gemini, it realizes there's other plants next to him or her, and wow, and I'm not alone, and we're in a community, and it's so exciting. It's a big world, and the plant is growing, and out of this Gemini comes Cancer, and then these two little plants that got to meet, now they're having babies, and they're learning how to nurture and love. And then the new son, the new, child is born out of that union of the two little plants. And then in Virgo, we got to get everything organized, because now we have a family. And in Libra, oh, winter is coming. We better learn to get along and have some principles. And then in Scorpio, what? Whatever is born needs to die. Oh man, that's terrifying. We need to deal with that. So then Sagittarius makes all the spiritual rules so that we can understand death. And then Capricorn gives form to everything. And Aquarius says, no, 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 it's all wrong. And Pisces says, who cares? I'm returning to the mother. So that I can be born again into Aries. So in that sense, does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a great breakdown.
So then Pisces is not really wanting to incarnate. It's just like, dude, What does it matter? And then there's this really divine you about, that that personality, but because it's deeply Neptunian and Jupiterian, so there's incredible wisdom and there's detachment and there's an attitude that is divine in a sense, but it's about the returning to the womb.
Makes sense. Definitely.
Okay, so what do we got next?
All right.
Oh yeah, so then so if you're interested in this Aeon of the fishes, Jung wrote a book called Aeon and talks about the age of Pisces, and this myth that we just talked about, the Devouring Mother and the Puer Aeternus, talked in more detail, and also the book by Mary Louise von Franz, the Puer Aeternus, really big. So the Pisces Virgo axis of transcendence. So how is the Pisces Virgo axis the axis of transcendence?
Well, they're both feminine signs, and so the energy is both going inward. In Virgo, it's like making everything around it close to God because it's organized and structured and like a physical. Versus Pisces, I guess I would think of it as also the last of the water signs. And so there's this emotional completion that happens because the water signs are our emotions. And so this transcendence that can come, I see from, like, for instance, for crying for days on end or even hours at a time, and that transcendent feeling that can happen after, or allowing and becoming more free and conscious and in tune with your emotional ability. If you're not taking the other path, the other fish, and dissociating. Yeah.
So if we do the same thing we did, but this time look at the axis, the axis of Aries Libra is about me and my relationships.
Yeah.
Okay. Then Taurus Scorpio is about life and death. Then Gemini Sagittarius is about information and meaning. Cancer Capricorn is about nurturing and giving form, father, mother. Then Leo is the individual and his community, and Virgo is, the order into the world and the goddess of the harvest and the great mother. And so the axis of transcendence, and that Virgo seeks to make the material world transcendent by making everything perfect in it. And Pisces says, why does it matter? Let's just get out. But that's the axis of transcendence, and each axis at its specific message and the paradoxical nature. If you dig deep enough into a sign, you'll get to the opposite. So then we have in Pisces, we'll have a new moon in Pisces, and then we'll have a full moon in Virgo. We're going to start with the full moon in Virgo, and then we'll have the new moon in Pisces. So these are going to be important aspects of this.
The other piece of transcendence, for whatever reason, is that the natural horoscope is always cut in half between Aries to Virgo and Libra to Pisces. And Aries to Virgo is all about self-development. And then after we make everything perfect, we work with other and realize that it can't be perfect. and then there's this whole other collective relating to other community, higher understanding side of the zodiac. And then before we come back to coming to self again, there's this transcendence. So there's like this unseen line between the two halves of the whole too, which transcends the consciousness very much from one side to the other.
And each sign is an evolution from the previous one, so Virgo seeks to make everything perfect. In Libra, everything is kind of perfect, until you get to Scorpio where, oh, whoa, now we're going to die. But Libra doesn't like to not, Libra is the beauty of ideas. It's, everything's fine, let's not step on anybody's toes. Let's make sure everything is harmonious. There's justice. These are kind of very, so the Virgo Libra, it's pretty ideal in the earth and in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, blah, 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 digressions. So where are we?
So the breakdown, the key aspects.
So it's a water sign with an E at the end. Oops.
Yeah.
It's mutable and it's feminine. The rulers are Jupiter and Neptune, and it's the return to the womb so that the divine child can be reborn again in Aries. So our alchemical opportunities. So the 19th, Sun ingress into Pisces.
And then 2 days later, Venus and Mars conjunct in Aquarius, and it's Martin's birthday.
Happy birthday to me.
Ooh.
And the 24th is the Virgo full moon.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the Sun, Mercury, Saturn conjunction on the 28th. That's going to be like right on your Saturn. It's right on my Mercury also. Really feeling that one. I think that's going to be a big event. A good time to do some rituals. Sun, Mercury, Saturn on the 28th. We'll talk about that more when we do the Virgo full moon video. Then we're going to have Mercury, Neptune conjunction.
That should be some interesting communication insight potential there. And then 2 days later, on March 10th, Pisces new moon will happen at 20 degrees of Pisces. Good spot to look on your chart to see if you have that active.
And then the Sun Neptune conjunction on the 17th.
St. Patty's Day.
And
Don't dissociate too hard.
And in March 19th, Sun enters Aries and the beginning of the astrological new year.
Wow.
So let's look at it from the table perspective. So we got the Sun entering into Pisces, and of course we'll have the Virgo full moon. So the moon is here.
When it enters.
When it enters into Pisces, and then the moon will join, and that comes on the 24th. So then that's the full moon. And then the Sun will make conjunction to Saturn. And Mercury will enter into Pisces and join Saturn, Mercury, and the Sun in a triple conjunction. That's going to be quite important. The messenger gone, the solar deity, the sacred masculine, and Saturn, mastery and discipline into Pisces. We talked a lot about creating the safe container, but giving a voice to that safe container. It's been a while now that Saturn's been in Pisces. And then the Sun will conjoin Neptune, and Neptune's been in Pisces, and it's a ruler of Pisces, and that falls right on my Venus. So I'm going to feel that one. So that's going to be the new moon. The new moon will be Sun, Moon, and Neptune conjoined. And so those are kind of the major points. Mercury will come into Pisces and fly right through Pisces in less than a month. And then by the time we end the month of Pisces, Venus and Mars will be entering. But of course, we'll have the Venus-Mars conjunction at the beginning of all of that. So that's kind of the highlights of the coming month.
Mm-hmm.
How did that feel?
Good. Should I share them with them? Some tissue salt fun?
Certainly.
Oh, after we talk about this ultimate chart.
Oh, yes. That's the chart of my birthday, by the way. And we see a Venus, Mars, Pluto conjunction that we've been really talking lots about in opposition to the moon in a T-square with Jupiter, Uranus. And so all that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction and that Venus-Mars-Pluto with the moon, so that's liable to be quite that's, I saw that as the most powerful chart of the month.
Yes, it definitely looks quite potent and packed.
Mhm.
T-squares are great for bringing things up too, but they're not always the easiest energy to go through. We shall see. That Venus and Mars conjunction, that happens every 2 years?
Every 2 years, and that's
Okay.
a new cycle of relationship.
Right.
That's how it's defined in the textbooks, is that the Venus-Mars conjunction is new cycles of relationship. So the nature of our relationships, the nature of how we relate to our lover, how we relate to the Martian principle, it's a beginning of a new cycle. And because both of them touch Pluto before the conjunction there's a real sense that really relationships, the old way of relating, come to a time of death and rebirth. That in astrology, the conjunction is really important, because the conjunction is not only a rebirth, but it's a death. As the planet comes, to meet,
it's a closing of a cycle.
It closes the cycle. In Venus Mars, it's a 2-year cycle that's been taking place. So the last conjunction of Venus and Mars was 2 years ago. And now we're coming to the end of it. It's a death. And then the beginning of the new cycle comes. So then conjunctions are really important that way. And it's a great time to communicate with the gods in terms of Venus, my need for relationship, and Mars, the need to assert myself. So, that's going to be a powerful chart. And you're going to talk to us about salts.
As you guys know, I love my tissue salts, and I have a background in holistic nutrition. And so here I just want to quickly dive into how there's 12 salts, and every human body has all 12 of the salts, and they have been associated for hundreds of years in connection to the astrological symbols. Even though that's not part of our modern medicine, it used to be widely known, especially in the 15, 16, 17, 1800s in Europe. And so Pisces rules Ferrophos. This is also known as tissue salt number 4. And Ferrophos is a part of it's in every aspect of where the blood goes in the body. And what Ferrophos helps to do is oxygenate the blood. And so Pisces rules our lymphatic system and our feet. And that's really dependent on our blood flow. So our feet circulation, that's one of the first places to go off when our circulation goes down, is our feet get cold. And lymphatic system is all about taking away from the blood what isn't good anymore. And so if our lymphatic system gets sluggish, then our blood gets toxic. And so these two pieces really show the importance of the blood. But Ferrophos, as a tissue salt, is wonderful at making sure the blood flow is healthy, but it also brings down inflammation, whether that's due to an injury or stress or toxicity in the body. And the other thing that I think it's key for is iron. So if you are low in iron or you have a hard time retaining iron, often one of the missing pieces is this blood salt, Ferrophos, which helps to hold the iron in the system and then keep it circulating, versus maybe you eat iron or take iron supplements and it just goes right out of the system because it never got absorbed because the salt wasn't there to help absorb it. So Ferrophos is probably my favorite and most important tissue salt in my life, but also in many people's, I notice, because circulation is such a big thing. Inflammation is such a big thing in our society. It's also really helpful at the first stages of illness and sickness. So whether you're having a hard time getting over something or you're just the beginning of fighting off some kind of sickness, it really helps that. And Ferrophos is found in supplement form, or it's also really easy to get out of your greens. It's particularly high in romaine lettuce for whatever reason, which I think is quite neat. And then it's also in a lot of the Pisces ruled plants. So because Pisces is the big vast ocean, Pisces really rules the seaweeds. So that can be Irish moss, which is becoming more and more popular again, dulse, sea lettuce, kelp, sea asparagus. Seaweeds are this amazing untapped wealth of food, and there's very few of them that are dangerous to have. And most of them you can have. But in our culture, at least here in North America, we don't use enough seaweeds, in my opinion. If we did, we'd be a little bit more concerned about the health of our oceans. But yeah, so Fairfoss, number 4, the Pisces tissue salt, incredible blood healer, grounder, clearing the way for the new to come in spring.
That's fascinating. I was chatting with a really good friend of ours, Tiffany. Hello, Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany.
And she was talking about Fairfoss and saying that that's one of the things that she takes for iron deficiency. And I have iron deficiency, and I'm a Pisces, and all of those things. So then taking ferrous phosphate, phosphate,
Ferrous phosphate would be the long form.
ferrous phosphate would be very good for me then.
Yeah, definitely. And because it's a phosphate, it also helps support that nervous system, which for all the reasons of our North American life, the nervous system gets pretty drained quickly, and especially if you're a Pisces. Pisces, one thing we didn't mention is that it can be quite a sensitive bunch.
Then how do you take these? Do you take it every day as a regular practice then?
Yeah, take it every day as a regular practice. I put mine on my dressing stand so that when I get dressed in the morning or I change for bed, I take them then. Or you can also put them by your computer. So when you're on your computer, it reminds you to take it. Depending on the ailment, it can be good to take it every day just once. Or if you're dealing with serious iron deficiency or wanting to really nourish something that's super depleted, I'd recommend taking it 2 or 3 times a day. And it doesn't counteract with medications, which is great because in our society, a lot of people are on medications, so you want to be safe when you're taking things, but this will not harm the body. Yeah.
So this was fun. Another video with my dear friend Diana. We have a few left. Thank you so much for joining me for over 2 years now of putting out these videos.
Wow.
I'm gonna have to learn to do these videos by myself again. Oh my God. But we'll do some online as often as we can. Again, thanks so much for your support out there, everyone. And if you do have any questions or comments, and hit that like button, and we'll see you next time.
Bye for now. Happy swimming into the new astrological year.